Joan Rivers said that Michelle Obama was a man before she died. When
was that a joke? I thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke too, but the way she said it wasn't like jokey. She was like, oh, come on, everybody knows Michelle Obama's a man. Like, remember that?
Yeah, like, would Big Mike kill you for that?
Well, I think she died because she had 1,000 plastic surgeries. But
Michelle, she should change her name to Misery Obama. That's really what I think of when I... Misery Obama never has a positive word to say. Never. Not about children, not about family, certainly not about her husband.
Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just unleashed a scathing takedown of Michelle Obama, shredding her carefully crafted image with razor-sharp wit and unapologetic honesty. They tear through her polished, relatable persona and expose what they call an endless stream of hollow platitudes, painting the media's favorite first lady as more brand than substance. No topic is off limits as they torch the myth of Michelle's untouchable status in a bold, hilarious, and refreshingly raw roast.
Thinking of victims of this awful world, you think of Michelle Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. Every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry for herself.
Joe Rogan kicked off his takedown of Michelle Obama with the same fired-up energy he brings to rants about psychedelics or elk meat, focused, animated, and genuinely baffled that no one else was saying what he saw as obvious. For years, the media treated Michelle like she descended from the heavens, protein shake in one hand and memoir in the other. But Joe wasn't buying it. To him, she's the world's most polished self-help guru, Netflix deal in tow, with the emotional depth of a bumper sticker.
To El Salvador, who have already been deported, and not American citizens. Some the media has claimed are American citizens, but they're not. No American citizens. Anyway, it's just been so ridiculous, and the fact that she would try to parlay this into like, I'm so scared, but also super important, but also my daughters are brown, so they're also potential victims because everyone hates brown people, unless they could identify them as an Obama.
He started by dissecting her public persona. Polished, poised, always smiling like she's in on a secret the rest of the world isn't cool enough to hear. Joe found that especially fascinating. How someone could breeze through major interviews and big appearances without ever saying anything remotely risky, yet still be praised as a fearless truth teller. To him, it was a perfectly staged performance that made his skin crawl. He compared it to watching someone play chess against themselves while an adoring crowd pretends it's an epic battle.
That Tim Dillon's video where he was saying that Michelle Obama should run for president. If she won, she could pull her out and China would just give up. I was wheezing. I couldn't breathe. Big Mike.
Big Mike.
And don't even get him started on the speeches. Joe joked that Michelle's speeches had all the excitement of hotel room iron. Smooth, predictable, and only slightly more useful when plugged in. He mocked how every line felt like it had been screened by 5 sensitivity readers, 3 PR consultants, and a swarm of brand managers terrified of a single off-brand adjective slipping through. To Joe, her public presence was inspiring. It was painfully safe. So safe, he argued, you could practically use it as bubble wrap.
A boy in the mix.
I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
It's like baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
Ooh, no, I would have felt for him.
She just borrowed our boys.
Yes, I got plenty.
Wow.
Did you catch that? She's glad she didn't have a boy because he would have been a Barack Obama. And that's a hard pass for her.
Then came the food crusade. Joe ranted about how Michelle turned school lunches into a nationwide experiment in misery. Broccoli, quinoa, and mystery greens were supposed to build a healthy future. But to Joe, it looked more like a cafeteria hostage situation. He pictured kids across America staring at their beige lunch trays with the same despair people feel when they get jury duty. Meanwhile, Michelle beamed on TV, pretending kids were thrilled about carrot sticks. In reality, the real rebellion was happening in secret lunchbox black markets, where fruit roll-ups were traded like cigarettes in an old prison flick.
Here, I just
Okay.
playing the one that.
That's it. This is the one.
Or the first woman
We already
president.
have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a
I'm sorry, she's a what?
a transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
That's pretty funny how she said it.
Okay, we all know it.
He really leaned into the irony of Michelle presenting herself as the face of struggle while living in lavish homes, flying private, and cashing royalty checks bigger than most voters' mortgages. Joe made it clear he wasn't knocking success. He respected the grind. But what he couldn't stand was when success wrapped itself in a costume of victimhood. According to him, Michelle Obama didn't claw her way up from the ashes. She was handed a lighter and told to spark it in a safe, cushy fireplace. Her version of hardship, he said, felt like a cheesy after-school special about not having Wi-Fi in the guest house. And the books. Oh, the books. Joe couldn't help but laugh at how Michelle could drop entire volumes that basically said nothing yet got treated like sacred political doctrine. He joked that reading one felt like being stuck in a never-ending chat with someone who just discovered self-love and won't stop posting about it. Her chapters, he said, could be summed up as feel good, drink water, and remember your power. Find advice if you're selling scented candles, not leading cultural narratives. Joe wrapped up his segment by torching the media's obsession with Michelle's fashion, workouts, and perfectly arched brows. To him, it wasn't admiration. It was straight-up idolatry.
It's, what's happening to immigrants.
I mean, I travel in a 4-car motorcade, after all. I'm Michelle Obama. She actually says this. And then she says, but, I worry for my girls because, not that much because they are sort of recognizable, but I'm worried about them.
So it's not the fear for myself anymore. I drive around in a 4-car motorcade with a police escort. I'm Michelle Obama. I do still worry about my daughters in the world, even though they are somewhat recognizable.
They weren't just analyzing a public figure. They were trying to canonize one. And that was exactly the problem. Michelle Obama wasn't just respected. She was untouchable. When someone's wrapped in that many layers of protective adoration, Joe argued, it's usually because what's inside can't hold up on its own. Then came Megyn Kelly, stepping in like a lawyer walking into court with a case, so airtight the jury will be dozing off halfway through deliberation. Megyn wasn't there for laughs. She brought receipts, sharp observations, and a scalpel disguised as a smile. To Megyn, Michelle Obama was the high priestess of political branding. Every detail of her public persona had been meticulously constructed, polished, tested, and packaged like an upscale skincare line. She wasn't spontaneous. She was strategic to the core. And once you looked past the polished veneer, the act wore thin fast. Megyn zeroed in on Michelle's constant campaign to be seen as relatable. That word, to Megyn, had turned into a punchline. Relatable? Michelle lived in multi-million-dollar mansions, vacationed on private islands, and spent more time in makeup chairs than most Hollywood stars.
See everybody having a good time. The country's almost back to normal before World War III. COVID was just so strange. We lost a lot of people during COVID, and most of them are still alive. Yeah. Before COVID, I would have told you that vaccines are the most important invention in human history. After COVID, I'm like, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. I think Pizzagate is real. I think there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica.
Every time Michelle Obama told audiences to just be themselves, Megyn Kelly couldn't help but picture the army of handlers, stylists, and consultants hovering just offstage, making sure her earrings aligned perfectly with the teleprompter lighting. If relatability were an Olympic sport, Megyn argued, Michelle wouldn't even make the team. Then she took aim at the carefully cultivated myth that Michelle never wanted the spotlight. Megyn called it the biggest scam in modern political theater, the idea that Michelle reluctantly stepped into public life, only to churn out books, podcasts, TV deals, and build a public speaking empire. It was laughable. She compared it to someone claiming they hate attention while skydiving into a press conference with a neon sign flashing, asterisk, notice me. Asterisk, Megyn wasn't buying the modesty act. She saw it for what it was, pure marketing. She hammered home how Michelle played both sides of every issue. One day, she was a nation's unifier, preaching peace and kindness. The next, she'd subtly paint half the country as irredeemable, delivering it all in that soft but firm tone that sounded more like a disappointed principal than an inspiring leader. To Megyn, that wasn't strength. It was manipulation. Michelle didn't take real stands. She floated with the safest winds and sold it as surviving a hurricane.
When did she die?
2014.
Okay, so it was 2014. So it was 2014 that she did that, where she, in 2014. So it had to be before 2014 because she was dead in 2014. So 2014 or before, she said Michelle Obama is a man. So this is like 10 years.
Have you ever heard that before her?
I never heard it. No. I didn't even hear her say that until years later.
Then Megyn turned her sights on Michelle's legacy as First Lady. What had she really accomplished? Sure, there were fitness initiatives, healthy eating campaigns, and catchy hashtags, but Megyn pointed out that none of it brought about any lasting change. The food guidelines got rolled back, the exercise programs faded away, and the speeches, they were basically emotional op-eds with the intellectual depth of a Pinterest board. She mocked how the press treated Michelle like some philosopher queen, when in reality, her big messages were no deeper than a coffee mug at a gift shop. Asterisk, you're enough. Stay strong. Love wins. Asterisk. Megyn didn't even disagree with the sentiments, but she was amazed they were treated like revolutionary wisdom. If Michelle Obama was a new standard for a deep thinker, Megyn argued, then the bar had dropped so low it was now a tripping hazard. And then there was the cultural pandering. Megyn had zero patience for how Michelle played the identity card when it was convenient, only to vanish behind vague platitudes when anything truly divisive came up. She managed to present herself as both warrior and victim, an exhausting balancing act Megyn found disingenuous and hollow.
Misery Obama does not want to run for office. Misery just wants to sit and talk about how miserable she is. And honestly, when you see the full parody tomorrow, you'll laugh. Like I started bursting out laughing a couple times because it seems impossible. Like it seems like I'm being too mean. But then we've interspliced the actual Michelle Obama saying these exact things. Like that we didn't have to make it up.
Jaw-dropping.
Megyn argued that real leadership didn't need theatrics, just honesty. And honesty, she said, was the one thing Michelle consistently dodged in favor of relentless image control. Finally, Megyn took a scalpel to the Michelle-obsessed media bubble. Every TV spot, podcast snippet, and glossy photo shoot was treated like a royal appearance. But beneath the glamour, Megyn saw only brand management. Michelle didn't lead. She floated, curated, and posed. And people mistook that performance for power. The roast wasn't personal. It was a sharp analysis. To Megyn, Michelle Obama had become a symbol not of progress, but of perfectly packaged performance. And with her trademark clarity and bite, Megyn made sure the illusion cracked wide open. The takedown wasn't over. Together, Joe and Megyn had peeled back the glossy layers of a beloved public figure and left behind a trail of uncomfortable truths. And for them, it was only the beginning.
I will not run for president.
Yeah, I've heard you say I think Michelle should run.
She could win. She could win, I think. I think if she ran, she could win.
Do you ever run for office?
No.
I have to ask it.
No.
No kind of office.
No.
I don't think she wants that, though.
No,
I don't
I
think she
guess.
wants that in her life.
Just-
The that they dealt with over the 8 years when he was president.
Because I've got these two young people at home. Being the kids, the daughters of a president, just think about it. Not so easy.
That job for anybody that really good at it.
Yeah, I trust the person who doesn't want the job more than the
Yeah.
person who wants the job.
It's not something that I'm interested in or would ever do, ever.
Joe Rogan circled back like a guy who'd suddenly remembered the juiciest part of the story he'd almost left untold. He wasn't done picking apart the strange cult of personality orbiting Michelle Obama. What really got under his skin wasn't just the carefully crafted branding. It was how effortlessly people bought it. The blind worship, the automatic applause, the total unwillingness to question a single word she said. To Joe, it was like watching people line up to pay for bottled tap water just because someone slapped a celebrity's face on the label. He riffed on the absurdity of Michelle being treated like a political oracle when, in his eyes, she'd mastered the art dodging every real conversation. She was always front and center for the photo ops, the soft-focused docuseries, the trendy podcasts, but conveniently absent when hard decisions or real debate showed up. Joe compared it to someone showing up to a UFC fight with a yoga mat and still expecting to walk away with a championship belt. He even dragged her endless mantras about hope and unity, saying they had all the flavor of motivational wallpaper, pretty to look at, but ultimately empty. He laughed at how Michelle could speak in 5-minute bursts of poetic fluff that said absolutely nothing and still earned standing ovations. Then there was her social media empire, an army of curated posts, glossy shots, and filtered life lessons funneled into timelines like she crowned herself America's favorite aunt, handing out affirmations instead of homemade pie. Joe mocked the fake relatability, those candid, family moments that somehow always looked perfectly lit and professionally edited.
It's just been so ridiculous, and the fact that she would try to parlay this into like, I'm so scared, but also super important, but also my daughters are brown, so they're also potential victims because everyone hates brown people, unless they could identify them as an Obama, in which case we'd be fine because everyone loves us. But as you can watch the wheels calculate in a way that just confirms everything you believed about this woman.
Joe said if anything felt less real than a reality show, it was Michelle's Instagram feed. And Megyn Kelly wasn't done either. She came back sharper than ever, laser focused on tearing apart the fantasy of Michelle as some kind of political outsider. To Megyn, that narrative was a fairy tale that had dragged on far too long. Outsider, Michelle had spent over a decade at the heart of political power, married to a two-term president, dining with world leaders, cutting media deals with the biggest corporations on the planet. Megyn laughed at how Michelle would occasionally pop up to speak truth to power, while actually being one of the most powerful people in the country. The contradiction wasn't just amusing, it was infuriating. Michelle had perfected the role of insider pretending to be outsider, and too many people had swallowed it whole. Megyn wrapped it up with a stinging observation. Michelle didn't want to lead, she wanted to be adored. She didn't challenge the system. She styled herself comfortably inside it. And while the cameras flashed, the applause thundered, and the bestseller list piled up, the country got nothing of substance in return. No bold positions, no risky stands, just a polished image sold to the masses. That, both Joe and Megyn made clear, was the real roast. Not a Michelle the person, but a Michelle the untouchable symbol, a myth carefully packaged while the substance slipped quietly out the back door. And they were only getting started.